Storm's coming. And you boys, you are smack in the middle of it.
Welcome to the Supernatural Report, a monthly spin-off podcast from the Krypton Report, part of our Patreon package. We will be discussing and looking back at the series that ran for 15 seasons. That's 327 episodes from 2005 to 2001. That is a long time. And I'm your host, Tyler. So get this, according to the lore, Patrick. And with me is my hunting brother, James, son of a bitch, Cole. But that's not all. We have with us descended from heaven or ascended from hell, Jania, hey ass butt, Patrick.
Yep, that's me.
So welcome, everybody.
Oh,
Great introduction.
Oh,
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
You've been running through trying to figure out which ones, huh?
Oh, yeah, I was like, this is going to be great. I was like, what's the best Castiello? Hey ass butt. Like, that's classic.
Yeah, I resemble that one.
So we are looking back. We'll be looking at Supernatural. This has been something that's been in the works for a little while. And James and I not only share our Superman fandom, but we share a love for two hunting bros living the life.
Yeah, we do. We both enjoy Supernatural quite a bit. We've been talking about this for a very long time. We were waiting for a while, but also life.
Life. Yes.
Life.
That thing that we all have that comes to play. But no, let's we got some thoughts here. We're going to kind of go through the pilot. Since this is kind of our pilot episode of this, I thought we would record the pilot. And, and then we'll kind of go from there and see how we do as we move forward with the podcast. Because, we got 327 episodes to go. If we did one a month, we would be in our 70s by the time we finish this.
That's insane.
Yeah, we would we both be chilling in the retirement home. But you know what? I bet at that point we'd be chilling in the same retirement home.
That's
probably,
true.
And then it would probably end up being like Bubba Hotep, where we're walking around like trying to fight some sort of soul sucking mummy. And Jania's just knitting like that.
That sounds accurate.
But
playing "Don't Fear the Reaper" in the nursing home.
Here it is. Very slow version of it.
In old school, when they're at Blue's funeral and they start like humming "Here I Go Again" on my own, it'd be like a version of that for "Don't Fear the Reaper." Like, So before we kick off this episode proper, we got to talk about some crap. I don't know if any of our listeners, one thing, we've been wanting to do this, but then if anyone doesn't know, Supernatural had 2 failed backdoor pilot episodes built into the series that never got a spinoff. But we're getting a Supernatural spinoff called The Winchesters, which looks like bullcrap.
From your perspective.
From my perspective, it does, because in the trailer for this series, which is narrated by Dean, kind of like a young Sheldon type thing, he's talking about the history of his parents, and everything that happens negates what we already know.
Yeah, the trailer seemed like the whole show is basically going to be retcon.
And we know that Mary stopped hunting when she met John to live a normal life, and John didn't find out about any of this stuff until Mary died and John started hunting. John never discovered that his father was a man of letters. That was something the grandkids, Sam and Dean, discovered. All we know is John's father disappeared one night. And we learn about that later on. So Mary stopped hunting. So this whole show is going to be a giant retcon, or because they introduced the multiverse type thing later on, because everyone has to have a multiverse, maybe this is a John and Mary from a different Earth.
I was gonna say, didn't they have like a parallel Earth or something?
Yeah, they did, because in the last season we see Chucks like destroying other Earths and other Salmonines and different worlds and stuff. So I'm gonna watch the pilot for the Winchesters. Me and Jania are, but I'm really not looking forward to it.
Well, they also did like time travel and stuff. So, I mean, heck, things can change that way too.
And I'm just really tired of everything has to have a multiverse, everything this. Like, what I loved about Supernatural at first was, yes, it was supernatural and you had the lore and all that stuff. But at the same time, it was grounded in some sense of reality based on folklore. And, we had real stakes for our characters. And as we go, it just gets absurdly crazy.
Yeah, I mean, because like as you go, it was really cool because like demons were hardly known even at the time when, or even at this time when Supernatural picks up.
Don't even get me started with that, because we'll get there when we get to episode 3. But hey, immersing with her angelic wings of beauty. Somebody wants to say hi.
Hello, my name is Selah. How you spell my name? Selah.
Oh, that's great.
And that was Selah.
She should be in bed.
Who should be in bed. But like all children, she doesn't go to bed.
Pretty much. Well, just because like in the later season, I forget which season it was, but when they like go back in time and they discover that Mary was actually the hunter, not John, and and at that time, like they were only hunting monsters. They didn't even know about the existence of demons. The
first demon episode for Sam and Dean is in episode 3, and it pretty much gets retconned. And you're right, the Campbells were like, the demon stuff was so, because they even said like one of the things in the show is how certain things like demon activity starts picking up. There gets to be more and more, and things are escalating more than what it was before. But anyways.
Well, yeah, and all the way up, like the history before Supernatural was just monsters and monster hunters. Like the things that got bigger, angels and demons and stuff, they kind of did their own thing. And it's at this time is when things start to escalate, and that's why things get so much more dire and apocalyptic each season.
So here's my question. What would you have liked as a Supernatural spinoff?
Let's see. So, which were the two?
Well, I'm saying if you could have had one. One was the Wayward Sisters, which would have been the better of the two. The other one was like Bloodlines or something. It was going to be like in Chicago or something.
Yeah, the Wayward Sisters was the one with the girls that they had saved who were living with the police officer and whatnot, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That one was the one that I would have liked to have seen. Because that was actually a pretty good episode, I thought.
Do you think of a pitch? Jania, do you think of a pitch you could have done for a Supernatural spinoff?
Not necessarily. I feel like it'd be really hard to do a Supernatural spinoff because really for me, the show is about Sam and Dean. So doing a spinoff of anything, I feel like it's not necessarily going to be solid enough for me. I know it's kind of harsh, but I don't know. Like the Wayward Sisters, I wasn't digging it. I wasn't into the concept of it necessarily. I don't know. Maybe that's just me being a diehard for the boys.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I did like it, like because Sam and Dean always cross paths with other hunters. So it was just nice to see that the community. I thought it was pretty cool to see the community expanded You know, this new a younger generation of hunters coming in, and of course they're going to like come cross paths with older hunters and learn more things along the way.
Yeah, I got you. I respect that.
All right, let's keep this episode moving. But good time. So, here's some questions. So this one's going to go to James here. When did you first start watching Supernatural?
Well, I mean, I had seen some episodes here or there throughout multiple seasons, as it was on TV, kind of after some other CW shows that I was watching at the time.
Yeah, would that happen to be Smallville?
It would, yes. And so, but I never really, I hadn't watched it for a while. And then it was probably out probably in its 9th season. And I just binged it on Netflix.
Nice.
Like straight on through. And then just, kept watching it mostly on Netflix as the seasons came out.
Okay. So, Jania, why don't you share with everyone your history with the show?
Oh, you're hilarious. He's so funny because he actually knows what the history is. So, the history of me joining on the Supernatural adventure basically started once upon a time when I knew Tyler. We were friends at the time, newly friends. And a good friend of mine, she's like, "Oh my God, you have to watch this show called Supernatural. It's amazing." We were both into spooky stuff, and she was that witchy friend that I had. She was pretty awesome. But anyway, she encouraged me to binge it with her, but we didn't have a way of getting a hold of the episodes. But I knew this really handsome, attractive dude that I was into, that was my friend, Tyler, who had all of the seasons basically. He had ripped them, so that was
no.
so
Tyler
supportive,
wouldn't do that.
I was working at Blockbuster at the time. That's how we rolled.
Oh right. God!
And it was season 4 at this time. That was the one that was airing. So
yeah.
I bought season 4 on iTunes, and Jania binge watched seasons 1 through 3, and then I had an adapter for my iPod. How old this is?
I was gonna say you could have probably recorded them on VHS and loaned them to her at that time.
That is probably true.
So I would come over and I would copy them on my, they were on my iPod, and I'd hook up my iPod to the TV, and we would watch them season 4 together.
We did. Charlie and I watched season 1 through 3, and then I got Mom hooked on it too. It was funny. And then you and I watched 4 together. That's right. It was good times.
And then we watched 5 as it aired, and pretty much 6 as it aired, 7, I think 8, 9, and then I think 10 is where we kind of got shaky watching it as it aired.
See, I remember, and I can't remember which season the Leviathan was,
7.
But I felt like that was where there were a couple times where we struggled watching it when it aired. I don't know. I feel like that was the time frame where it got a little patchy, if you will.
See, because then we watched it. I mean, it wasn't 9 and 10. We watched in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And then where it really gets patchy is 11, 12, and then 13, 14, and 15 are a little bit more clear, because that's when we got DVR and we watched them on DVR, and then we watched them on the CW app. That's when I was working back
Once upon a time.
So, yeah, 15 years. Holy,
I was going to say, you were working for Spectrum when I met you.
I know. It's crazy. Like, I mean, it is crazy because and we'll get into it more when we get into the pilot. Just about like what all was going on with the show. But here's some more questions. James, who's your favorite brother, Sam or Dean? First one to come to mind.
Dean.
Right. What rock star alias would you be, James?
Rob Zombie.
Nice. Did Cass stay on the show too long?
Yes and no, because every time he kind of wore out his welcome, he kind of like rejuvenated himself at some point, and it was cool for him to be around again. And then it happened again, and then like came around a few more times.
All right. Who's your favorite side character?
Oh well, there was. Let's see. I enjoyed Metatron. Metatron?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be confused with Megatron.
No, not Megatron.
What would you say is your favorite season?
Oh man.
I asked the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Jania's over here like, oh, crap, I'm glad James got to go first.
Right?
Seriously, yeah, I'm struggling with that one.
I mean, I actually have to like go back through to refresh some of them. I know that I've seen the most season 1, and I really, really enjoy season 1.
So do I. All right.
I'm not saying by any means like it's got to be the best or anything, but because there's a lot of memorable moments over a lot of episodes. But yeah, season 1, I can always go back and rewatch a lot of that.
All right. And do you think the show should have ended after season 5?
I mean, there's definitely an argument for it.
Okay. Yeah, there is.
Absolutely. I mean, it could have ended. It could have ended twice over.
Do you have a favorite season title card?
Which one did I send you? I know that Ring of Fire was pretty cool. I like that, but I can't remember what season that was.
Wasn't it 14?
Oh, 14 was the Angel or something, wasn't it? Like the Wings or something?
We're going to have to get back to YouTube.
No, it was more of one of the mid ones, like maybe 6-ish.
No, 6 is my favorite.
Is it?
Yeah, it's just the broken glass.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It just seems so simple. Because then starting with 7, like, got like crazy. Just like 7 was like all white with black blood splatter that turned into bath, flew away. So, but all right. So now we're going to shift over to that angel from above, Jania, and we're going to ask her which brother, Sam or Dean.
Oh, that's so flippin' hard because I love them both for two very. I shouldn't say two because there's multiple different reasons why I love them both. But let's go ahead and say Sam.
All right. And I'm going to say this right now. When I ask which brother, we will not be taking the third brother as an answer for anyone on the cast of the show. Okay?
That's good to know.
Because I'm blanking on his name right now, but I remember the actor's name. Yeah. So.
What is his name?
Well, I just lost my supernatural card. James, you'll have to take over the podcast.
I don't remember.
Adam. It's Adam. It was Adam.
Adam.
Because I always said it should have been Seth. We're going to get all biblical on this. And Dean and Sam were like Cain and Abel. Seth was Adam and Eve's next born son. And yeah, a little Bible trivia. Jania, what would your rock star alias be?
I don't know if this counts or not, but maybe Lucy Hale.
All right. Hold on. We have a little message from. Why can I remember anything? What was the?
What?
What was the kid?
What kid?
That might have been Dean's son.
Ben?
Ben. All right. Hey, Solomon Ben. What's up? Say hey.
Hi, guys.
All right, my man Solo. Get some sleep. You little Gabriel, go on to sleep there, trickster.
I mean, I found the title cards, the image you sent me.
Yeah.
And I think I was thinking of 2.
The
2.
fire? Where it's
Yeah.
just the fire? Simple.
Yep.
All right, Jania, back to you. Did Cass stay
Yes.
on the show too long? That's her answer. Moving on.
Wow, really? I'm gonna say no, but I feel like he was overused.
And the whole point about some of these questions is, as we go through the show with things in mind, we can take notes of, like, especially with Cass's character, when would have been a good time for him to drop out and then come back, and things like that. All right, favorite side character.
Oh my gosh. Oh, it's Bobby. Bobby.
I already know who's going to be our Bobby, and I have a good I got to come up with a good intro for Bob. All right, what do you think your favorite season is?
Once again, these are hard questions.
Yeah, they are.
Well, 15 seasons is a lot of choices.
There are really so many choices. Yes. Yeah. And honestly, trying to pinpoint where all the episodes are in alignment. My brain is not set up like Tyler's. Tyler can do this very easily. He's like, "Oh, that fits into this season." I'm not that way.
I get blurred from season 11 to 13 or 11 and 12. I don't really know what happened in what season, to be honest.
I'm gonna go with season 1 as well. Yeah, it was either 1 or 2 for me, so I'll say 1.
Okay. And do you think the show should have ended after 5?
No.
All right. Now, Tyler, you answer these questions. Thanks, Tyler. Favorite brother, Sam or Dean? I choose. You know why? Because the issue is, I relate a lot to Dean as the older brother and the kind of things that your parents forced on you, because when I started watching this, I watched it with my brother, and we watched it together, and it was really kind of interesting to kind of experience that with him, because he was my younger brother. But then personality-wise, I relate a lot with Sam. So I pick both. It's my podcast, and I can do that.
What's funny is you and Dean actually share an astrological sign. So technically, you're more like Dean.
I do like a good cheese.
Just saying.
Made of plants.
What would
Made
your
plants.
rock star alias be? I'm going to ask the questions now.
Armstrong. Billy Joe Armstrong.
Did Cass stay on the show too long?
Yes. He should have disappeared for a season or 2, then come back. And I'll prove it as we go through this podcast.
All right. Okay. All right. Who is your favorite side character?
Garth.
Okay.
I said that just for the sheer reaction that we just got. Garth, you idiot! How are you still alive? Favorite line before he even showed up on the show. But yeah, I did actually really like Garth, but then I didn't like what they did to Garth. Because he was like the most anti-hunter, where you're just like the whole time like, how is he alive? Of course, everyone loves Bobby, but sometimes Bobby can be argued as a main character and a side character depending on what season we're in. Loopholes, people. Loopholes. That's how Sam and Dean did it.
Right. Well, I mean, I love Chuck. I love Charlie.
Charlie was dope. I wish I had a friend like Charlie.
I
He's
liked
that great
Ruby.
fighter.
Ruby was a great demon.
I liked Ruby.
Which one?
Every version.
Well, yeah, I mean, she had quite a few that were pretty good. Katie
two
Cassidy
movies.
played her.
Yep.
Who was the other dark hair? There was another dark haired
Genevieve. Genevieve, I can't remember your last name until you got married. So Genevieve Pilecki? Or Padalecki? Yeah. It was Adrian Pilecki.
Pilecki.
Well,
Adrian Pilecki.
Yeah, Adrian Pilecki
Gotcha.
plays his girlfriend in the pilot.
She's from
Okay.
Toledo.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I
said
remember
that
you
before.
told that. James
Yeah.
said that. She's like, but he said it like this. She's from Toledo. What's the next question?
Your favorite season?
Season 1.
Oh,
and
wow.
maybe 5. I really
Okay.
think there's a lot of great tightening of characters and lore. Like, there's a great culmination to 5. So yeah.
Okay. So least favorite season?
See, I didn't ask you guys that question
No, you didn't.
because I was like, I'll just leave that out because there was 15 seasons. But I'm gonna have to say somewhere
The
like
Jew's
11.
putting you under the gun.
I know.
I am.
Maybe like 11 or 12. Like I said, I honestly don't remember what happened in those. I know one
Was
of them
11 the darkness?
I thought that was 10. Was when the darkness showed up. Okay, maybe the 10 was. Maybe 11 is the darkness. 10 is the first blade and Cain. Yeah, it is because 11 is, I think, the darkness. Because
Yeah, I think so.
Because I hated when they tried to do the whole Stein arc, and I think that was at the end of season 10. Because I don't think Jania ever even saw that part. Like those few episodes where they tried to do like the Steins, who are descendants of Frankenstein. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember them. That family.
Yeah. All the fun stuff that we get to go on this journey together.
Right.
All right.
They did a lot of stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
the
They even had
first episode proves that they have, they can have a little different take on a lot of different stuff.
Well, as I learned later, I listened to a great episode of Comic Book Central with Robert Singer. Robert Singer, who was a producer on Supernatural, who is also a producer on Lois and Clark, talked about how every few years, after a while, every couple of years, they changed the writing staff. And they said there are people who they hired towards the end who basically kind of grew up with the show. And that's why in the latter seasons, you saw a return to certain characters, beats, and story elements that were kind of abandoned earlier on in the show. So it's very interesting because of how long the show ran for.
Well,
My
that's
favorite-
always great to be able to have something like this that lasts so long that it could actually pick up loose threads that were left dangling.
That's cool.
There's still one that was never done right. And we'll get there.
Okay, so you didn't ask this one from me, so I'm a little offended right now. But what was your favorite title card?
I know I was going to ask you that. I totally forgot. I'm not perfect. Okay.
Reiterate what yours was.
6. The glass break.
6.
And what's yours?
Okay. Oh, now you're going to ask me. Thank you.
I'm so sleeping on the couch tonight.
I think it's 7.
Oh, the Black Blood Leviathan, the Leviathan thing.
It's a cool title card. And then, should the show have ended after season 5?
No, but I kind of feel like I should have ended sooner than it did.
Okay, fair enough.
And we'll get into it. But without further ado, it's time to talk Supernatural, the pilot. Now, I got some trivia about the pilot. The pilot, Supernatural was originally pitched as a road trip style show with two brothers, basically with Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. Dean being the very Han Solo character and Sam as Luke Skywalker. that was part of the pitch. The show was to be a weekly horror movie with the brothers on the road as their way of getting in and out. And it was going to focus more on the horror and monster aspect. They found there was just such great chemistry with the brothers that they focused a lot more on the personal dynamic. The pilot was filmed not really during pilot season. It was filmed and pitched, and it is the only episode of the show that was filmed in Los Angeles. The rest of the series was shot in Vancouver, and this is why, like, Jared was coming off of Gilmore Girls, and Dean was in season 4. I'm just going to interchange names. Jensen was in season 4 of Smallville, and that's why the way his character died at the end and the way it's explained at the beginning of season 5 is so weird, is because Supernatural was picked up, and now they were off to do that. So his character really didn't kind of get the ending it deserved.
Yeah, no, he kind of just died with the meteor impact.
So some more trivia. Yeah, the meteor. He like was just in the living room with the kids, and then it starts. He was hit by a meteor. That's how he died. Yeah. Off screen, hit by a meteor.
Hit by a meteor.
I mean, if you gotta go, it's the way to go. In one version of the pilot script that Eric Kripke turned into the studio, the episode ended with the Winchester boys finding their dad on the ceiling. In another version of the pilot script, Sam suspected Dean of being a serial killer and murdering their father.
That would be an interesting show.
It would be, but I don't think we would have liked it as much. I'll be honest.
Probably not.
You could probably get away.
You get away with that for maybe the first 3 episodes, but then I think he'd have to get over it.
Yeah. Originally, the character's last name was going to be Harrison.
Interesting. I'm glad it wasn't.
So yeah, me too. The Winchester thing is much better. And
definitely.
then this is, as we do season 1, one of the things that's very interesting, and I pointed this out to Jania, and season 1, if you watch it on DVD, has all classic rock music. It's the music they wanted, but I guess they could not secure the rights or had the money for it. If you watch it on Netflix, season 1 only has modern music. And the second to last episode, or the last episode, doesn't have Carry On My Wayward Son on it. And when in the scene where Sam is criticizing Dean's cassette of tapes on Netflix, when he pulls it out, it's the song Gift to the World by Loveless. If you watch it on DVD, it is Back in Black by AC/DC. Now, what's even more interesting is I actually purchased a long time ago the pilot episode on iTunes, and on iTunes, it is the same kind that is on Netflix. The music is not updated, which is interesting. So that's my trivia.
That's cool.
For the pilot episode. So now it's time to get into Supernatural. This is where, Jania, you have to make car sounds, depending like we're revving up baby, okay?
Vroom, vroom. Was it exciting enough?
Ready? 22 years ago. As the title starts. A long time ago in Lawrence, Kansas. Okay, so let's take this by a moment here that the opening scene is the pilot is directed by David Nutter. David Nutter, who also directed episodes of Superboy and would also direct the pilot for Smallville. He's the man. And the opening shot already establishes a set of tone, sounds, and feelings by being extremely creepy. We see easily we're introduced to the Winchesters, and we're introduced to John, who's wearing his military service shirt. So we already have an idea of who this character is. And we see that Dean is... How much older do you think Dean is? 4 years? 5 years older than Sam?
Yeah, I think he was about 5 years older than...
I think it was, but at the same time they did, if we think later on in the show, they were in the same high school together.
Well,
so it has to be at least
in this. Yeah, I mean, in this episode, he says he's 26, and then I mean, when are you taking a law school interview? Probably after a 4-year college, so he's probably about 22.
Okay, yeah, so about 4 years. That worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I'm 26.
Right? The only person on the CW actually playing his age and not like 10 years younger.
And Jania has confirmed it is 4 years between Sam and Dean. 4.
Yep.
So, we find out in the opening, the fire busts out in the house. We have the really scene of, not to get too nitpicky, but that's what we're going to do, okay? We have the light. So Mary walks by and the light's flickering and she checks it. And she doesn't act concerned at all with the light's flickering. But we know that she's really Mary Campbell, and we know her history. She should know what's going on with that light. Come on, Mary. Like, she shouldn't have been like, oh, that's the light. But I mean, that opening that jump scare of her walking by, seeing someone over the crib, going downstairs, and then seeing John asleep, that gets you. Right there, right from the beginning, like, I was in. I was hooked. What about you guys?
Oh yeah, same. Definitely. I mean, it is a scare, she wakes up, John, he's not there. She sees a man standing over the bed. Obviously, that's who she's going to think it is. And then, I mean, just like, if you see him downstairs, automatically, like, automatic freak out.
I know how groggy I've been, getting up in the middle of the night, checking on my kids and stuff. So that makes a lot of sense to me that she would just kind of look over at him and, think immediately that that's my husband, especially not seeing any features or anything like that, just him in the darkness. But yeah, it definitely wakes you up if you're going to go downstairs and see your husband laying in the chair. So yeah, pretty crazy.
That's all I gotta say about that.
Well, then she runs back up.
Yeah, and that's all we know. I couldn't remember. It's not till season 5, isn't it? Or it's in season 2. I don't remember where we get the cut line where she says it's you.
I don't know.
See, that's the fun of we're gonna go back through everything.
See, I'm looking back at that scene right now, and I'm thinking about how I would have reacted to that situation. Like, I probably would have grabbed Tyler's arm, and I probably would have been like, get up, we gotta go upstairs. I wouldn't have done it by myself. I would have actually grabbed you. Just FYI.
She would have, and she would have grabbed a machete and just jumped in there like ninja flipped inside, cut the dude's head off, like Yoda in Revenge of the Sith with the clone troopers.
There's a lot of holes in that. Just FYI. We have to have a machete first.
We have a paper cutter that you just rip it off like the faculty. And so we see that Dean runs baby Sam out of the house. And the shot ends with the three Winchesters, John, Sam, and Dean, sitting on the car. Car's as much of a character in this show as anything else. I would have accepted that as favorite side character. But you could have said it was a main character too, and I would have accepted that too.
Well, there's an episode of this show that is told from the car's point of view.
Baby.
I mean,
That's the episode.
Yeah, you see from the camera from inside of the car. That's the only time. So, when they're having conversation, it's only at the car.
Yeah.
Inside or out.
Rewatch.
Yeah, that's going to be a cool one to rewatch.
You know which one I'm not looking forward to rewatching? I'm going to tell you right now. The first full episode of The Ghost Facers, where it's shot like an episode of The Ghost Facers. Really not looking forward to that one. I think I've only watched it maybe once.
I haven't watched one of those Ghost Hunter shows in a while. That might be interesting.
So now,
I kind of enjoyed that, I'll be honest with you.
and this was going to be fun. So now we jump to Stanford, present day, 15 years ago. And we have thin, fresh off Gilmore Girls, Sam, with his girlfriend. I'm in everything but can never get a job for very long. Miss Adrienne Fleck. Because she tried to be Wonder Woman, didn't. Tried to be Mockingbird, get her own spinoff for Marvel.
She was badass on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., though.
She was in Supernatural as First False Kara. And in here, this is a look back podcast. We know what's going to happen. She ends up on the roof, ceiling, and fire.
I'm sorry, she was in Supernatural?
No, I mean Smallville.
Smallville.
bad.
Thank you.
My bad.
Okay.
Smallville is fake Kara season.
Yes, she was.
Kara, not Kara. And she was in here's another one. She was in she was the Siren in Aquaman, the pilot with Justin Hartley.
God, that sucks.
So Sam hears a sound, gets up, and we meet higher voice Dean.
Hey, well, you know what? She was in John Wick, so I think she's gotten up there.
And she was in G.I. Joe too, with The Rock.
Yes, she was.
I think she's a good actress. Probably just some...
It's just funny because she's done a lot, but a lot's not done. Like, isn't she still on the Orville with the man of many voices, Seth MacFarlane?
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. She's been on that for a few years now. I mean, how many other actors though do you know that have that has done so much that you actually heard of, but that didn't get picked up? You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
Like, she's just one of those few.
So we're back to Dean now, because that's when the show picks up here. Is one, he's not wearing John's jacket when he's introduced right here. I just wanted to point that out. And two, he's not wearing boots. He's wearing tennis shoes. And then we get exposition dump with one of my favorite lines, because I pulled this on Janina the other night. We were walking the dog and we were talking, and it was like 11:30 at night. And we were talking about how Solomon all of a sudden started talking about being afraid of the dark. And she's like, "There's nothing to be afraid of in the dark." That's why I got time. I said, "Don't be afraid of the dark. Are you crazy? You know what's out there."
Yeah, right.
And she looks at me like, she gives me the dumbass stare. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the,
Like, it works perfect, but when it comes to trying to get your kid to bed and being afraid of the dark,
you're just like,
it's counterproductive.
So like this is where we get Dean's 26. And so what, that puts him about 41 by season 15, give or take, dying, coming back, and etc. The tape recorder has EVP, and we learned that Sam and Dean have been apart for the past 2 years. He hasn't bothered him at school. Now, this is one of Jania's favorite things to point out, is when Sam and Dean are talking, and Jess walks in, and she goes, "Wish my hair and makeup was perfect when I supposedly wake up in the middle of the night."
Seriously, though. It was flawless. Yeah.
I even think her lips were like glistening.
They were. She had lip gloss on.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, what, you don't roll over and put your lip gloss on before you even get out of bed?
Oh, no. What you see is what you get.
It's still a beautiful sight. Don't let her fool you, people.
Oh, you're hilarious.
So this is when we're now introduced to our ghost of the story, which is basically a take on Padrón. James, you're good at pronouncing the Mexicans and Spanish things.
La
Take it away.
Llorona.
There we go. Side note, the character of Constance Welch that we'll be talking about does make an appearance back at the end of season 14/15, played by a different actress, which was a bummer. So she's a woman in white walking on the side, and there is a guy talking to his girlfriend on the time, hangs up the phone and picks her up, and we learn he's coming back from a Halloween party.
No, this is on the side of the road.
Right.
Okay.
And the whole idea is she's supposed to get in the car and have the man drive her home and tempt the man. And if he fails, she basically kills him. And I asked Jania, what if the man's gay? Like, she just give up? Like, what happened?
I don't know, it seems like she always needs a victim.
Right, maybe she can just sense something. You know what I'm saying? In him.
It's her way of avoidance.
And then he takes her to her broken down house. And she disappears. That'd be my first instance, just to drive away.
But isn't it that she takes over the vehicle if you start to drive away?
Yeah, but he gets out of the car for a second.
Yeah, that was not smart.
Did you hear her like open a door and get out? No.
Yeah, right. Like,
first of all, I told Jania, if I'm driving on the highway at night and I see some woman standing there all look like she's on drugs in a white dress on the side of the road, I just keep on driving, give a good wave, pray to Jesus.
She gets home safe.
I'd be like, I'm calling you a cab. Uber's on its way.
She Dukes of Hazzard out the window, like, didn't even hear her.
But we get our first blood spot attack in the pilot episode. She gets in the car, and all of a sudden,
supposedly that house was used in Rob Zombie's The Devil's Rejects.
Ooh,
interesting.
I only watched that one time. I can't even remember.
I mean, it looks familiar. Nah, yeah.
That's your homework, James. Go check it out.
Yeah, no problem. I'll check it out.
That's James's homework.
I'll watch it. I'll watch The Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, I won't. So go for it.
Yeah, it's an intense movie.
I watched it one time. I'm like, yeah, that's enough.
Right? I mean, if you see it once, like, I can definitely understand that being enough.
And honestly, I did it because I was just, trying to impress an old boyfriend. So, sorry, Tyler.
Jania, don't lie. You didn't have any boyfriends before me.
The lies Tyler tells himself.
Seriously. If you can see his face right now.
What are you guys talking about?
He is not happy.
That's it. Go into my room. Wait, I'm already there. Dang it. So the next scene is where we learn that Dean and John and the Winchesters are very big into credit card scams. Somehow they get credit cards for filling out applications, which I don't really know how it works without social security numbers and not having really anyone to mail the cards to, but okay.
Bobby Singer. Period.
I mean, Bobby's a genius.
I'm just saying.
I mean,
the man always has answers.
And I mean, I guess when Charlie shows up, it makes sense. But then also when we find out that they're really just like folk heroes in a story, they can never really be in too much trouble at one time. It makes sense too. After all,
Although
Jimmy
that
Cooper
is
had
a
habit whole life.
You're right. Although that is one of the interesting storylines through the first handful of seasons is the them getting in trouble with the law.
Yeah.
And how they somehow continue to get out of it.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why the first 5 seasons worked, because by season 6, that being traced by the law pretty much disappeared.
Well, they found a way out of that, and I can't remember exactly what it was.
Well, they had Henderson, and they helped fake their death.
That's okay.
They
that's what it was.
supposedly died, and
Yeah.
that's what helped.
A lot of these podcasts are going to be Tyler reminding me of things as we go on. Like, oh, hey, that happened around this time. And I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, I remember that.
I used to watch. I will swear, like, I have a really good memory of the first 7 seasons. Because I
you
used
have a
to
good memory period.
I used to watch them religiously. Like, I would always have it kind of in the background. I had all the DVDs. So, and then it just, other shows. And honestly, I think around the time we started getting the Arrowverse stuff, it got harder to rewatch all of Supernatural because there was other shows I was starting to watch, like Arrow, Flash. So I wouldn't rewatch things as much. And then kids came along, and you can't watch Supernatural around these kids. Because Sailor would strap up and be outside hunting, and Solomon be hiding under a bed crying. I mean,
That is accurate.
Got him pegged.
Yep.
Sailor would go get the table salt and be like, BAM!
Right? She's like, I gotta salt. She's like, Leah, stop it! I gotta salt all the windowsills.
She's like, I got a sawed-off shotgun.
Right?
In here. But then you toss a spider at her, she'd be like the episode in Dean where he sees the cat with the fear virus.
Or ruin your shotgun by dumping salt down it.
So they pull up on a scene, and it's the first time we get the Supernatural guitar riff. And they're pretending to be federal marshals in the most regular street clothes possible. And we find out.
Have you ever seen Federal Marshals, though?
Yeah, I've seen the movie. They have on suits, ties. They tuck in their shirt. They look presentable.
I've just never seen any, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So they're fancy.
U.S. Marshals. Robert Downey Jr., Tommy Lee Jones. Good flick.
Okay, but I mean in real life.
No, because I don't go hunt for the law, Genia. Law finds me.
You wish you were that interesting.
Yes, sir. I promise I won't speak again, sir. Meanwhile, the kids in the back like, ooh, daddy, ooh. We find out that in 1981, Constance Welch, she committed suicide. And we have Sam and Dean trying to investigate.
Well, when they find out that she committed suicide shortly after her children were taking a bath, and then she supposedly left them for only a minute and came back, and they were no longer breathing.
This is why I don't bathe my children.
Actually, I'm on bath duty for Allura. She apparently she screams when Jamie gives her a bath, and she's got her day and night most of the time. And so she's bathed her more often, and she screams. She didn't for a while, and then she started, and then it was just every time she got wet, she started freaking out and screaming. But the last couple of times I've given her a bath, she hasn't made a peep. She's had a good little time, so she's like, "You're doing it. You're on bath duty."
Oh, look at that. James is good at bathing stuff.
That's more peaceful for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. Children in the bathtub always kind of, like, I won't let our kids, like, fill the bathtub all the way. And I'm always within earshot. And Sayla makes so much bloody noise when she's in the tub. You know she's okay. She's, like, playing around and everything. She thinks she's an Olympic swimmer.
If it goes quiet, that's when you need to go check on her.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Always doing something.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sneakiest little girl ever.
I want to ask you guys this question. Now, looking at the first 5, okay, do you feel that Sam is the hero's journey character? If we look at it from a Joseph Campbell point of view, or do you think it's? I don't really think there's an answer at this point right now. I think it's a good thing. I feel like in a way it's Sam, at least in the pilot, because he rejects the call, he goes, and then with the ending, he then accepts his call and goes forward. So it's an interesting kind of look at where these characters are going on their journey.
Right. It was kind of interesting though how they kind of like as it progressed there, especially in the first 5 seasons, how Sam at the beginning kind of more like the shining light brother as opposed, and then he's the one who is connected to the devil. He's the vessel, and he's going the other way, and it's kind of like Dean is supposed to ascend as like Sam is falling.
But what I find really interesting is that ultimately Sam is still the redemption. Like, Dean obviously gets us there. Like, he works his butt off to get everything, into a good place. But Sam is ultimately the one that has to save everything.
Right.
If you will.
Yeah.
So I could almost, at least from the perspective that we're talking right now, I could see that would be Sam being, the hero's journey.
Yeah, and that's where I'm leaning towards right now, Sam.
Well, yeah, absolutely. He has the ultimate evil to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
So, moving forward, we find out that Constance is a woman in white. They go to the bridge. They see her, and they find out she's committed suicide. And this is part of the funniest scene, because Janine and I were taking this apart, is the car comes on and starts chasing them. Okay? And then they jump off the bridge. The bridge that she jumped off to kill herself, they just jumped off to save themselves.
Yep.
And Dean, falls and lands in mud. He's all he's in the water, but he's covered in mud, and Sam's on a ledge. And it was pretty fun.
Well, I mean, the idea of this could be different times of the year, though. Rivers will raise in their water level quite high, and sometimes during in the wet season they'll raise really high, and then when it dries up, it'll get really shallow.
Mm-hmm. This is true. We have them check into a motel where they find their father had recently been, and they break into their father's room, and that's where they find out all the lore that he had been studying, and they really get into the woman in white, the weak woman. They mention Mexico, which is, where the La Llorona is. And then there's Sam and Dean have a moment, and he's like, dude, no chick flicks.
Well, which is the interesting thing when they talk about the woman in white in this, kind of like La Llorona, where the story is the same. And a husband cheating, a husband having an affair, and the woman has a bout of insanity, kills her children, typically by drowning. In that story, she drowns the children in the river, and then she kills herself out of the guilt, and then she is forever haunted. And in that story, it's usually to scare children that she would come for children who hear her cry. And in this, it's going after the adulterer male.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And also, I want to say, I never understood scary stories to get children to go to bed at night and behave. Because if I tell my kids scary stories, they just end up in bed with me, and they don't leave us alone.
Yep.
Sometimes I just want to spend time alone with my wife, not with my kids and my house.
Yeah, I don't think scary stories work as much to go to bed, certainly, but for kids to behave themselves might work a little bit
That is
better.
true.
I do threaten my kids often if they don't behave. I'm going to show them Mary Shaw from Dead Silence. I do that. I
Mhm.
never would show them because I swear to God, if I did, they'd be scared forever, and I would never sleep again. And because Jania would be mad at me, and every time the kids would make a sound, she'd make me take care of them. So
That would probably be true, yes.
So we have Dean. He gets cleaned up, and this is the first time we see him wearing John's jacket. He's arrested because the police tracked him back to the motel. And when he's arrested, he gives his name as Ted Nugent. And then the chief comes in and is like questioning Dean and starts talking about the weird stuff that they found in the hotel. And he says Dean was the killer of the first victim. And Dean goes, well, when the first victim went missing back in 1982, I was 3. So, and then we see John's journal. And, I'm looking at this episode a little different as a screenwriter, as what is the engine being built in this series. We have the introduction of the supernatural, the hunting, the journal. You built them the credit card scans and how they get money. You're answering all the questions. The problems with the law, the rock star aliases, and how they do everything. So I'm looking at this from a screenwriting point of view and looking at the mechanics behind the engine that they're building, and John's journal and everything. So
Yeah, I mean, you get your freak of the week out of John's journal. They follow his journal, follow his hunts, trying to find him, but looking at it all, and it gives them a new monster to fight, and in their hunt for John.
And it's great because you don't get stuck, say, like Smallville, where you're like the freak of the week. This is they're traveling around, going somewhere new, investigating.
Yeah, and you can utilize a lot of different myths, a lot of different supernatural stories and characters. There's a lot to mine, and especially when they do things to interpret them as something slightly different, like the woman in white in this episode.
So later, what we have is Sam goes and he hunts down Mr. Welch, interviews him, basically cuts the BS to Mr. Joseph Welch about him and Constance's relationship, what happened, how Constance drowned her kids. And Sam's driving back when what happens? Sam sees Constance and she gets in the car with him.
Which he just drives past her.
He drives through her.
Oh, that's right, because wasn't it he drove past her, and then she was in the middle of the road, and he drove through her, right?
Yeah.
Because she got in the way of his car because he didn't stop, which is really interesting, because that's against her pattern, isn't it?
Right. Because, so she tells Sam to take her home, and he's like, I'm not unfaithful, and then she comes on to him, like, which is a different MO than what we had saw earlier. And also, I got thinking, like, does she have a kill cycle, or is it just constant?
Well, she drove them home for one. He said no, and she took control of the car and drove them home. So, like, just total monster turn.
And then,
Which, is honestly something that has been assumed in the past was her pattern. So we don't actually know for sure if that's how she was, for other situations or not. Just saying.
exactly. We only have the one experience to kind of set up what her style is from earlier. And this is where we get like the special effects that kind of hold up. Like we see her face flicker and it's kind of like a gross and it's kind of dark. And then she attacks Sam and puts her fingers like into his chest. And then Dean shows up because he broke out of handcuffs with a Sam. What do you call? Sam called some sort of false like fire or something to get the cops out of the station.
Shots fired.
Yeah, Dean escapes using a paperclip to get out of the cuffs. Such a movie trope that never works. And he shows up because he meets at Constance's house where they figured it out. Shoots her, and Sam's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Rock salt, dude. Rock salt." So that's pretty cool. They kind of, while you're shooting at a ghost, like explain that, and you just kind of go with it. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure there's flashback scenes later of them using rock salt as kids. But whatever, we go with it.
I was going to say, did he say rock salt in this? Because he was like, are you crazy shooting a ghost in the face? He's like, it worked, didn't it? I saved you.
Maybe I'm off. Maybe they didn't mention the rock salt right here. I do mess up, people.
Because I was trying to think if I heard that because I was like, all right, he's shooting the ghost. Are they going to say something about rock salt? And I don't recall them saying anything. I know that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they scare the ghosts away, and we were talking about spreading salt around as a barrier.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Sam basically say to Con, "I'm taking you home," and he drives Parth into the house, and she gets out, and we see why she's afraid to go home. There's the ghosts of the kids, and we get a really creepy eerie of just the water coming down the stairs. And the kids at the top, and they come down to get her. And I will say, the effect of like the kids and Constance like molding together to one weird like creature-looking thing that like goes into like
It sinks down into the floor.
Yeah, it does not hold. That effect is.
But I really love the poetic end that she receives here. Just. Her having to face her kids. And honestly, I don't know about you guys, but it didn't really seem malicious that the kids kind of took her. I felt like it was more like a reunion, but in a positive way on their end. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she was more distressed and heartbroken than they were.
But wasn't the whole point that she killed her kid? And that's why she was afraid.
Yes.
So Jania likes poetic ends. Hold that thought, Jania. We're getting to the end of the episode. Did you like poetry?
Well, I mean, it's a bout of insanity. Like, is unfortunately in that respect, is she responsible for her actions? Like, I mean, granted, it's not going to change the fact, but she's trapped in this existential nightmare, but
yeah,
kind of her being forced to face the guilt and the children, just like it all just comes together.
It really does.
So the boys in John's journal, they find coordinates left to a location. Dean says we could make it like 6 hours. And Sam's like, has to get back to Stanford. Dean drops him off at Stanford. Sam goes into the apartment. Just made some cookies. What a good woman. Made some fresh cookies. Sam lays down for his long winter's nap. And out on the ceiling, a rose. Just like his
drip,
mom.
Drip, drip,
drip. Dripping, catches on fire. Sam starts freaking out. And once again, Dean comes in and saves Sam from the fire.
Yeah.
and he takes him out, and we kind of have a little bit of a bookendish where they're by the car, and he's like, "We got work to do." Boom.
So, okay, am I allowed to do spoilers?
Yeah, this
I
whole
mean, I would just. I know it sounds so stupid, but like,
this whole podcast is gonna be spoilers. So we're doing.
well, I'm about to talk about the yellow-eyed demon. That's why I'm saying that. I'm just curious. Like, is he hanging around to the side? Because what ends up happening here is, Sam lays down in the bed. The drops of blood hit him. He opens his eyes and he looks at the ceiling, and there's Jess. And then she catches on fire, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Okay. So it's just interesting to me because I'm wondering if that's like, something that the yellow-eyed demon's like sitting there waiting for him to arrive back home, and then when he arrives back home and this happens, like then he catches her on fire. Like, I don't know. It's one of those interesting thoughts to me. Like, how was that played out?
Yeah, we know the yellow-eyed demon was present during Mary's death, and it was the same scenario. He went in to check on Sam. Blood's dripping onto his hand, and he looks up, and she's on the ceiling, looking basically dead, dripping blood, and then catches fire. So kind of it repeats itself in the same manner.
Maybe he was there to collect Sam, as we'll see like in season 2, how he collects the special children. Maybe he was there for Sam, and Sam wasn't there. So he waited.
Both times, Dean saved him from the situation.
Yeah.
Took him away from that.
That's what big brothers do, even when their younger brother, a pissed off little man who just sits around and lives his hierarchy life.
Well, that was the start of it, wasn't it? That night when he killed Mary, he was there to
he was there. He
drip the blood in Sam's mouth.
Yep.
So Mary caught him doing something.
Yep.
Yep. That's why he killed her. Done.
So interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to think about it again, watching through. I really wish I was talking to Jamie just before we got on, because I was watching the pilot, and saying I really wish I remembered the technical thing that I had heard about how they shot the fire, the effect of her on the roof and Mary on the ceiling catching fire the way they do. Because I do remember that Jansen and Jared were actually near the fire, and because they burned a real fire, and they basically were like, all right, we're going to shoot the fire. You guys, kind of just stick around as long as you can until you feel the heat, and then get out of there.
Yeah, I remember.
So that's how they shot that. But I had just, it kind of sucks saying it when I don't even remember just the technical aspect of how they shot the people burning on the ceiling.
You remember that being cool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that wraps up the pilot episode. Any other final thoughts for the pilot? I know we're going to go on and on. We could talk about this forever. That's why we're doing this little by little. And we'll probably...
forever until our 70s.
Carry on my... Wait, what was it today?
It's okay. I'll be in my 60s. I'll probably remember.
That's right.
Like the only thing we actually remember at the time is the lyrics to the song. Like, carry on my wayward son. What is that from? What are we talking about?
All I know is as the podcast goes on, James's voice is going to get lower and lower. So by the time we get to the festival, he'll be like, Tyler. I'm like, James, you okay? Yeah. But all right, everybody, this is the Supernatural Report. We'll be talking the show Supernatural. Check it out on Netflix. Check it out. And
there we go. That's what I got to do. I got to practice my Dean voice. Get it
Exactly.
better going the
Yes.
farther we go.
and I just gotta like buff up. Be like Sam in season 5. Where he's just like shredded.
I was about to say, what part of Sam do you want to be here? Because he's all over the place.
I know. He was never fat. Dang it, Sam.
He does mention that he said it's not Sammy anymore, it's Sam. Sammy was a chubby 12-year-old.
Okay, I'm 12-year-old Sam.
He's 12-year-old Sam.
That's golden.